Hello, I'm Robert Pearson, and this is Follow the Leader, my little corner of the internet. I find myself this afternoon driving. I'm driving all over the place. Driving to a little place in Maryland called Frederick, where, yes, the whole city is named after a guy whose name was apparently Frederick. I do an extreme church makeover thing where we make over a church in a weekend, and there was just too much electrical work. So the last couple of Monday nights I've been driving out and fixing stuff and finishing up the last couple of baseboard heaters and lights that need switched out. Fun stuff. And it's just a long drive from where I'm at. It's like an hour and a half, and I've got the rest of an hour, and there's an accident, so it's deliciously slow. So I thought this would be a good time to just muse a minute aloud. I was listening to Owen Benjamin, and he said a thing that has been stuck in my head for like a week now. And it was an offhanded comment, and he kept moving, but he made some remark about not being a brand. He was a person. And he went on to talk about whatever else, or ignore somebody's question because it was irrelevant. Something like that. That's been bothering me, though. Pretty consistently. Because I'm not entirely sure. The morality of marketing is a massive gray area. It's just dubious and weird. It's about the only way I can think to describe it. Because people, I put need in air quotes, people need things. They don't know those things exist until they are advertised or sold to. It seems a noble profession as any other, but the line between what is good and what is evil is a lot fuzzier. And so the reason everything's named, all the stuff has like names or whatever, I was trying to do the whole branding thing, but I understand being an electrician a lot better than branding. But I also feel uncomfortable just putting my own name on top of stuff. It bothers me whenever I see some pastor's ministry named, Jim Bob Ministries, Jeff So-and-so Ministries. Like, I don't care about you. I think it's neat that all of Steve Gregg's stuff is called The Narrow Way. He puts it on thenarrowway.com. All his stuff is Narrow Way, whatever. It's on the LLCs. He puts his name as the author. He barely even sells books. I think he's a little extreme in the other direction. That a workman is worthy of his wage. But I definitely respect the degree with which he went the other way. There's something wrong with the model where a pastor starts a church or starts little churches, gains some success, writes a couple of books, and then basically starts an online ministry and a book ministry around publishing his sermons and books under his own name, and eventually like dwarfs whatever church he helped start. It just feels like it becomes all about them. So I didn't like naming anything after and just anchoring it to my own name. But at the same time, the whole branding thing, I don't know. I started listening to Kurgan recently. He's a very intelligent man. I work construction, guys. These are men who are intelligent in their own way. There are different kinds of intelligences. I am the most cerebral person that I ever get to talk to. And so YouTube has been a great help to allow me to have not real relations. Obviously, it's a Band-Aid over a bullet hole, but at least not feel alone. And have other men who are as smart as me to talk to, and sometimes smarter. Kurgan is older, so he's a lot wiser than I am. So it's just fascinating, though, because I don't know. Oh, sorry the sun's in your face. Give me 2 seconds. I'm driving, and so I have other priorities than the aesthetics of the video. Ah, there we go, that's better. NT Way. So yeah, I'm just mulling all of this over in my brain, trying to figure it out. Binary thinking is helpful. It's helpful because if you are not a binary thinker, it is very easy to become subject to Hicks' law. Hicks' law states that the number of options that you have increase the amount of time it takes to make a decision exponentially. This is why people freeze up in situations where they don't know what to do. If they don't know what to do, they will think to try everything. As they're thinking about trying everything, they realize that they cannot discern what is a good idea and what is a bad idea. This is why if you have any training at all, it's better than nothing, because your brain then has at least bad training to go, well, let's do this and figure it out. It's better than no option, and then you figure it out, because most people are smart enough to figure things out as they go. But it's better to act rather than to not act. So it's helpful to be aware that there are manifold variables to consider. It is also helpful to be able to group those manifold variables. Woo! It is helpful to group those manifold variables into a binary choice. Trinary or quaternary at max. But it's really better to have just option A or option B. And to boil down, what do all of the decisions that you can conceive of have in common? And then are there primary groups that seem to develop? And then once you have a A-B choice, decision making becomes very clear and is no longer also simply an act in randomness, where you just pick whatever and hope it works out. Hopefully your deliberate decision, your deliberating is purposeful, and the decision you make has meaning and purpose more than simply a random choice of the same various options. So I like when I can create binaries where none exist to be helpful, and then when I'm handed a binary by somebody else, I immediately forge a third option to see if it's viable. Is this a good or bad binary? I find the binary choice between being a brand and being a person a fairly accurate one, because every time you see someone become a brand, it loses something. You can feel it. It feels hollow. It's absolutely intangible. If you've ever watched The King of Random, I happened to catch him when he was just a suburban dad doing stuff. Can I get around this guy? Yes, I can. I'm impatient. I apologize. He was just some suburb dad in his garage doing some fun stuff, and he had a silly name for his channel. Awesome. And then they got formulaic. And then he started running around to other YouTubers. And then he got an intern. And then the intern began being the only face you saw in the videos. And the next thing you know, he's parasailing. It stopped being a person, it started becoming a brand. That's a very accurate binary, and I honestly stopped watching when it was no longer a guy in his garage who was like, dude, plaster of Paris and sand make a forge. You can smelt metal in your garage with stuff you find at Home Depot. That's awesome that a guy would figure that out and throw a video on the internet and take the time to make the video pleasant to watch and clear and concise. Then it fell apart after that. Though it was just formulaic and soulless, and I stopped watching. Just naturally, it wasn't a deliberated choice. I was just like, this doesn't interest me anymore. So I'm gonna leave the follow the leader thing up there. I don't know. And it's okay to not know. Now, the reason I put follow the leader at the top of the stuff is, number one, I didn't feel comfortable just labeling it my name, because I'm not that important. I'm just some guy. Everybody is just some guy, by the way. Spoiler alert. everybody's just some guy, and everything that you know is something some guy told you, and you believed him. You know, unless you've seen it with your own eyes and felt it with your own hands, it's not empirical knowledge. It's stuff some guy told you, and you thought, yeah, it checks out. You should be allowed to question any knowledge that falls into that category without being called insane. And so, I named it Follow the Leader because it's a child's game and a delicious pun. Because leader is always with a capital L. I throw a silhouette of Jesus on the cross. I'm not a Catholic. I have an absolute distaste for the way Catholics seem to adhere to what I feel is, it never doesn't feel like idolatry to me. But I've got deep Protestant roots, man. Supposedly, on my mom's side, we descend from the only child who survived the trip on the Mayflower. Or the first child born after. I think she's the only one who came over on the Mayflower, the only infant to survive the trip. And I've grown up in Baptist churches. I currently attend an Assembly of God church. I am none of those things. I am a Christian, and I read my Bible, and I believe what I find there. And I go to a church that matches what I believe, about 90%. And I would advise everyone else who can walk that path to do the same. You need to be responsible for what you believe before God. Because he's the one who's going to judge it, and you can't be like, well, I didn't know. And he's like, there's literally copies of my word in every hotel room in the developed world. It's for free everywhere on the internet. You can't say you didn't know, bud. You just can't. Unless you're somewhere in the backwaters of nowhere and you have absolutely zero contact with an English-speaking country, you've heard of Jesus somehow, some way, and you're going to be held accountable for that knowledge. And it behooves you to dig and dig and dig and know that you know that you know what you know, with your own eyes and your own hands. So that's where I stand, and I think I like the image of Christ on the cross because it's unmistakable. Symbols can get murky, but when you see a human man on that little plus sign, and you're like, why do these people like the lowercase letter t so much? Oh, there's a dude on it. Boom. Instantly, the story is more detailed, and it's clearer and makes more sense. Everybody knows. It's unmistakable. Oh, that's Jesus. Oh, I got you. And so that's obviously the leader that we strive to follow. And I think leadership is the skill that has fallen apart. That's why the American church fell, subsequently the American men, and the American women, and then the American children, then the American generation. That's what happened. Hosea said, in Hosea, God says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. We have to be educated. We have to educate ourselves. We have to know what's going on. And we have to lead. We have to be the first ones to act. We have to do things that are uncomfortable, unpleasant, and hard. And it takes hard men to do hard things. That was when churches started to get soft, though, as they stopped teaching. People were able to get lazy. They just show up, listen to pastor, go home. Gradually, they stopped having a call to read the Bible for themselves, to research things, to learn history, to know. Next thing you know, they're turning their children over to the state in public schools. It's a short hop there to women killing their own children and to turning your children over to sodomites. In, I don't know, maybe 3-4 generations between right now and 1900s, 1800s. It's, I'm assuming it happened way earlier than that, because the Civil War was a thing. I know enough about the Civil War to know that was another place where the church had fallen already to an extent that the federal government was able to overreach the clear boundaries of their authority, clearly articulated in the Constitution, because of slavery, when the North had a bunch of slaves. And the country was founded by people that owned slaves. But now we're going to go to war over this for no reason. In their minds, for that era, no reason. It just doesn't, there's too much weird stuff happening. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I want to have, I wanted to make a media company, eventually. Slow burn, you know. And I don't know if I'll ever actually get there or not. But that was also the alternate goal, and why I used a name of a company rather than my own name for the start of it, was I wanted it to eventually become more than just a random YouTube channel. To actually become a thing that could produce other things. I've got a book I'm trying to write. I have multiple books I would love to write, but have maybe 4 hours a week to dedicate to it, and that's recently been co-opted by trips to Frederick, Maryland, or helping people from my church with electrical troubles and stuff. All worthy things, but things that aren't sadly writing a book. So I've got ideas for a comic strip or a comic book series I've desperately wanted to make. Kind of a tongue-in-cheek superhero comic that was written as PG-13 from a Christian worldview, and it was a lighthearted, kind of funny, kind of serious superheroes, a little like Mystery Men, but not so much fornication in it, you know. A lot of stuff. So I find myself thinking a lot about branding. I don't know. I'm just Robert Pearson all the time. That's me. That's the name on stuff. I'll keep putting follow the leader on things, but I'll leave the iconography up. But I don't know. And it's okay to not know sometimes. It's okay to not know things. Nathaniel Slattery Bear is starting a publishing company, and it appears we'll be actually publishing things way faster than I ever had on any possible timetable I ever had. And so now I'm struggling with whether or not to throw my chips in with him or continue striving after my own thing. I'm thinking a lot about Vox Day. He has had some strategy sessions on, what to do with the new stuff, right? Let's go fight the sodomites by publishing and creating and doing our own thing. And then he seemed upset that nobody rallied behind him. And it's funny, I can't help but think about person after person after person begging to host videos on his little show, the Unauthorized TV. And his answer was, no, we don't want you because you're not popular enough. Now just shut up and give us your money. That's the punchline of his answer, is he just wanted them to shut up and give money, and then seemed upset when everybody goes off to do their own thing. Look, if you're going to replace YouTube, you have to actually replace YouTube, not mirror your YouTube content. Traffic's slowing up a bit. Not just mirror your YouTube content, disguise the UI, and then repost it on a different place. So I'm assuming their goal is to compete with Netflix, which is going to be long, slow, and arduous. But that's what their goal really is. But what's weird is they're just putting live streams up. So it feels like it should be YouTube. I think there's a little bit of clarity of vision that's lacking, but he then seemed disappointed that he was like, well, the resistance is atomized. Yeah, it's atomized because you told everybody to go away and do their own thing that wanted to come help you, and you said, no, go do your own thing. Now shut up and give me your money. And then you seem confused why everybody wants to go off and do their own thing. Beggars cannot be choosers, my lord. Sorry, bud. You're starting from the bottom of the barrel. You've got a comedian who was thrown out of Hollywood, a couple of vloggers very few people have heard of. And so if I don't care about Barcelona and I don't currently have a garden, I just show up for Owen Benjamin and you, which I could catch on YouTube. So I don't know, I'm excited for other stuff, but it's just weird that he was complaining about the atomized resistance. So anyway, I feel like as much as we can, the resistance needs to coalesce and join forces, because usually what happens from disparate atomized resistance, somebody is going to be the biggest fish in that small pond and start eating the other fishes and getting bigger. And then they'll have the size to challenge the establishment. That's the way it usually goes. So currently, I guess we'll just stick with, I think I'm leaning towards wanting to coalesce and throw in my lot with other trustworthy bears that feel like they're about my level of, you know, we do stuff on here, but that's about it. And I think it would be awesome to finally get some stuff in print, depending on how quickly things can or will move, or how quickly I can even finish the book I've been working on writing. I'm like 60% done with it. Sorry, 60% done with a first draft. I'm a footnote kind of guy though, and I'm having to generate my own data points for a lot of it. It's proven a little more tedious than I had hoped. But I've seen the quality of some books that get sold on Amazon. So let's say I'm hopeful about the book being meaningful. I don't care how many sell, but it's meaningful information that needs to be widely available. But I don't know. Just a lot of stuff to think about. We got to fight the sodomites, though, and that means producing meaning in the world, producing works of education, of art. I want to create a curriculum for young Christians that will be scalable for as shallow or as deep as somebody wants to make it. It'll be a two-phase curriculum. Right now, I'm just thinking about calling it Milk of the Word and the Meat of the Word. And then I'm gonna co-opt some of it and basically structure it as the Blue Collar Bible Scholar curriculum. And it'll be themed, a little construction worker theme kind of stuff, just for gimmick's sake, because I enjoy things that fit, things that match, and things that are a pun. So that much is not branding, that much is just being authentic. I love when I can put an alliterative title on things. It makes me feel like a complete person. That's not, I don't go the right way. But yeah, that's, I want a curriculum that I could literally give to any Bible-believing church and they could use to foster their people. And it walks through things in a simple step-by-step process. There'd be handouts that explain the basics. I mean, every Christian on planet Earth should know what a Strong's number is and be able to do a word study based on the original language, even if they don't know Greek or Hebrew. They should know what the Septuagint is. They should know who, at least, Augustine, Tertullian, Origen. You know, these guys are pillars of the faith and like the only philosophical thought leaders for 1,000 years in some cases. For the longest time, the only meaningful philosophers are theologians in recorded history. No, China doesn't count. They think backwards. Their letters are weird squiggles. Look, they had a chance with the gospel. The Nestorians went over there, and then they decided to wipe them out when What's-His-Bucket wiped out all of the... When What's-His-Bucket wiped out all of the Shaolin monasteries, he also wiped out the Nestorian communities because they function a lot like monasteries. So that's on him, bud. You had a chance and you killed all the people that went to you. Tough deal, bro. They're figuring it out now. The underground church in China is strong. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Is that guy got Idrisil on his rear window? Somebody takes their paganism seriously there, bud. Hagerstown, Gettysburg. I don't know if I passed my exit yet. I'm gonna have to stop recording so I can see a map to make sure I'm not horrendously lost. I thought I was cool enough to remember because I've been there like 4 times now. And do I take 180 Belgium? No. I think I stay on North 15. I think. So yeah, I gotta, while driving, pull up my map to make sure I don't get terribly lost and waste an hour driving around in circles. Because darn it, this church needs their baseboard heaters put up and their lights changed out. Whoa! It's alright, guys. It's not like this is a highway. We can just park at a dead stop. That's fine, I guess. Alright, I gotta actually pay attention and drive things. That's all I got. I'm just thinking about stuff. I am gonna continue to sign off because it is very important that you never take my word for anything. I've got a couple of rules in life, but one of the big ones is I don't trust anybody at all. I don't trust anyone at all. And it's very important to me to know things for myself. So I'm just passing that along. Don't take my word for it. And Godspeed is underused. May the good Lord speed you on your way. Godspeed.